Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
A new poll says that Americans say that abortion is morally wrong by a 3-to-1 margin. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, a new poll that's come out by the Pew Research organization said that 3-to-1 margin of individuals that were surveyed say that abortion is morally wrong. Yeah. And there's some interesting demographics with regards to the black community, Hispanic community, and mainline white Protestant organizations as well.
Very interesting. Something that jumped out at me relative to this poll was that only 15% of the public thinks that having an abortion is morally acceptable. President Obama, I guess, would fall within that 15%. By comparison, about a third of U.S. adults say that they personally view IVF, in vitro fertilization, and both forms of stem cell research as morally acceptable practices. But what was particularly interesting to me was that the poll found that Black and Hispanic Americans are more likely to say that abortion is morally wrong than Americans who are members of mainline Protestant churches that take pro-abortion positions. Well, Black and Hispanic Americans are those who are in the crosshairs of Planned Parenthood and the multi-billion-dollar abortion industry, rooted in eugenics and trying to weed out the lesser thans. That is the history of Planned Parenthood with Margaret Sanger. They are targeting the Black and Hispanic communities essentially for abortion genocide, yet it is Blacks and Hispanics who at a higher rate actually understand the reality that abortion is morally wrong.
Yeah, and the polls found that fully 3/4 of white evangelical Protestants consider abortion to be morally wrong, and about 2/3 of Hispanics, Catholics, 64%, found that abortion was morally wrong or responded that abortion is morally wrong. A majority of black Protestants, 58%, and about half of white Catholics, 53%, say the same thing. Fewer white mainland Protestants, or about 38%, and religiously unaffiliated adults, 25%, hold to this view. So it's very clear that the minority communities feel that abortion is wrong, and you're right, because they've been hit with this. The largest Planned Parenthood abortion facility in the United States, which is a mega abortion facility, is in Houston, Texas. And we marched around that with black and Hispanic leaders when it was opening, and it is put right in the middle of a black and Hispanic neighborhood for a good reason. They want to ultimately prey on the minority communities. And with regards to the minority communities, abortion hits them harder than it does non-minority communities.
Well, in fact, you ask, what is the number one cause of death within the black community? Some people might say heart disease or violent crime oftentimes is cited. But in reality, the number one cause of death within the black community is abortion homicide. And so, again, the history, remember Lila Rose, our friend at Live Action, you'll recall a number of sting operations that she and her organization did with abortion clinics around the country, asking specifically Planned Parenthood employees if they can give money specifically to abort a black baby. And they gleefully, oh, absolutely, send us your money. We'll target it for a black child. That, again, is that eugenics mentality that Planned Parenthood was founded on by racist white extremist Margaret Sanger. And so these statistics, I think we're seeing, Matt, interestingly, a continued rise in the understanding that the abortion propaganda, the euphemistic language of choice that the left has been pushing for so many years, it has lost root. People are starting to see it for what it is, as propaganda, and they're starting to understand the realities inherent within the abortion holocaust.
And, our pastors and our churches need to address this issue. One of the things that we're as interested in is that the more frequent you go to church, the more likely you're going to be pro-life. So pastors need to address this. A lot of times, I'm a former pastor and I speak in churches around the country. And some pastors will say, well, I don't want to address it because there may be some people that have struggled with that. Well, absolutely. That's the reason why you need to address it. First of all, you need to have a plumb line. And secondly, you need to reach out with grace and forgiveness. And you can do that in any message. Otherwise, all sin would be off limits. And abortion strikes at the very heart of the created image of you and I in the image of God. And that's why it is such at the epicenter, along with homosexuality. The abortion is procreation without the consequence of the child, and homosexuality is the human sexuality without the possibility of procreation. So this whole issue of destroying our posterity, destroying individuals made in the very image of God, this is our modern day Holocaust. And I ask the people that are listening to this program, you look back on Nazi Germany, and you clearly, no one today looking back on that would say that they would have been silent, and no one would say that they would have sided with the Nazi regime. Every one of us would say, I would have been a vocal opponent of Nazism and the destruction of people such as the Jews and others that were the undesirables of those days, according to Nazism and population control. And the question is, I'm glad that you think that way. And the question is, where are you now? Are you silent now? What side of history are you standing on? If you're silent on this issue, you're standing on the side of the destruction of innocent human beings. You cannot be neutral in this, and silence is affirmation. If you are silent on this issue, you are affirming that this is something that is acceptable, and it's time for people of faith and other moral values and convictions to stand up and no longer be silent.
Boy, Matt, you've hit on something very, very profound here. That is, you've drawn an exact comparison between those who stood by silently during the Nazi Holocaust and those who today stand by silently and allow and accept the abortion Holocaust that is ongoing at even higher numbers here in the United States of America. And posterity will view those who stood in silence and who tacitly accepted this abortion Holocaust, just as history views those who silently stood by and allowed the Nazis to murder millions of Jews and disabled persons and so forth. You have struck on a very important and profound point.
Well, and we have a justice of the United States Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who said that I thought abortion was about getting rid of the undesirables. Shocking.
Admitting
that that's what abortion is about. Before going to the U.S. Supreme Court, she worked with the ACLU as part of her past history. She has that philosophy. And, abortion and Planned Parenthood was founded on the basis of eugenics. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that here in this country. We have a case that came out of Virginia called Buck versus Bell that went to the United States Supreme Court. And Carrie Buck, unfortunately, did not get her day in court. She did not get justice. What she got was this sentence, quote, 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. And that was from the justice who has a statute of himself in the United States Supreme Court. When are we going to stop deceiving ourselves that we're going to continue to go down this path of eugenics and abortion? And now, of course, Obamacare is giving more money to this Planned Parenthood abortion machine. At the same time, it's great to have these polls, and I'm glad that the majority of people believe this, but our beliefs need to be turned into actual action.
Well, and this isn't about judgment, as you pointed out, and if anybody needs to be held accountable, certainly everybody who remains silent, posterity will judge you. But pastors particularly, as you point out, who want to avoid the abortion discussion like the plague, because there are likely a number of women sitting in their pews who have had an abortion. Well, the abortion issue is a perfect vehicle, mechanism to deliver the message of the gospel. Christ is about redemption, about forgiveness, about repentance, and what a great example to use. Abortion, women, if you've had an abortion, a couple things. One, yes, you've killed your child. Yes, you have committed a grave sin, but guess what? There's forgiveness and redemption through Jesus Christ. You can be made whole again. That's the message that pastors need to be delivering.
That is the message. And go to Liberty Counsel's website or call us 800-671-1776. Ask for our Pastors and Patriots Action Pack. It includes this Patriots Handbook edition, political action for pastors and churches, along with a DVD that you can give to your pastor and encourage your pastor to speak on this and other biblical issues. It's part of our Pastors and Patriots initiative. And also, as part of that, we have the Salt and Light Council that can be put into your local church to help educate and support the pastor and the church to speak on biblical and moral issues of our day. Again, the website is lc.org. Remember Liberty Counsel in your prayers and your financial support. You can make an online credit card contribution right there on the website at lc.org. We need your prayers and your support as we continue to advance life and liberty.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.